Well, I think the big thing that, we really try to look for, in the second scrimmage is, the guys that have played around here and have been good players know how to compete. They've been in big arenas before. They have mental toughness. They play with discipline. We have a high expectation for how those guys play, and those guys don't disappoint us. And they didn't disappoint us today. But the big thing that we wanted to see today is we have a lot of young players on our team that have a chance to contribute to the team and play winning football. And I think the biggest thing that we've been trying to emphasize with them is the mental part of the game is so important. Your ability to focus, mental intensity, your ability to prepare properly so you know what to do, how to do it, why it's important to do it that way. And we were anxious to see more guys be able to go out there and play with the kind of intangibles that would allow them to play winning football. Now, I haven't watched the film yet, but I wasn't totally pleased, with the way some of those guys made improvement and came along. And look, it's a work in progress. So wherever they are, we're going to keep working with them and try to get them where they need to be. But we were hopeful that we would make a little more progress. Freddie Kitchen made an interesting statement last night when he when he spoke to the clinic, and I actually shared it with the players today. Now, we have about 5 choices, in our life. We can be bad at what we do. We can be average at what we do. We can be good at what we do, which probably is God's expectation for whatever ability He gave us, or we can be excellent, or we can be elite. And everybody has a choice as to what they want to do and how they want to do that. But if you're going to be excellent or elite, you got to do special things. You have to have special intensity. You have to have special focus. You have to have a special commitment and drive and passion to do things at a high level and a high standard all the time. And it doesn't matter what God-given ability that you have. That probably can make you good. But without the rest of it, I'm not sure you ever get excellent or elite, and that's the part that we're trying to get to. So, we only had, Jedrick Wills sprained his ankle today. We don't know the extent of the injury. We'll do an MRI. He didn't come back. We didn't expect him to come back. We wouldn't let him come back. So, we'll see what the deal is when we do an MRI and all that probably on Monday. But no other significant injuries to report.
Coach, we'll start here on your left, Michael.
Just in general, how would you assess the way the quarterbacks played today?
I think the quarterbacks played okay. We turned the ball over a lot more today, but I think we had some what I call bad interceptions off of people's hands, tip balls, things like that certainly they count as interceptions, but sometimes they're not all the quarterback's fault. We had a couple other not as good of decisions as we'd like. But we made explosive plays on offense. I thought the first group, both sides of the ball, played fairly well. But after that, we got a lot of work to do with the depth that we have on our team.
Go back to the right with Charlie.
You mentioned that depth in young players. Just what did you see from the inside linebackers today?
I can't. It's hard for me to be specific until I watch the film. I saw some guys flying around. I saw some guys miss some tackles. I didn't feel like we tackled really well, especially the second team. First team did a pretty good job, but people aren't running their feet on contact, trying to cut tackle, trying to butt people to the ground, and I think they're finding out that if they don't tackle them correctly, they're not going to get them on the ground, not when you play against good players. So I think there was improvement there, but certainly the whole idea of playing defense is tackle the guy with the ball. So you can do everything right, and if you don't tackle the guy with the ball, that's why you're out there.
Okay, we'll go over here with Alex down the right.
Nick, I wanted to ask you about some of the young guys on the defensive line, DJ Dale and Justin. What have they done to maybe impress you a little bit out there?
Well, both guys have made really good progress. They're very good athletes. DJ is playing some with the ones at nose. He's got good initial quickness, good power, strikes. Seems to be pretty conscientious. Shows a little maturity about being able to go out there and do his job. I think some of the other guys have certainly shown us that they have ability. I think when they get in a competitive situation, they completely just, dumb down. They can't focus. They're supposed to slant. They don't slant. So it's really, you can see the talent, you can see the ability, but they've got to develop confidence, when they hear a call that this is what I do, and trust in that and believe in that. And right now, in practice, it's starting to happen. But the next step is we got to get it in a competitive situation.
2 more, Cecil and then Tony.
Coach, just as a follow-up to that, probably even in the years that you've been here, 10 years ago, you might have 1 guy, 2 guys leave after his junior year. Now 7, 8, 9 guys leave after their junior year. Do you see that on the field in spring practice? Is that a noticeable difference?
I think there's no question that it's different, but I don't think it's any different here than it is every place else. We've had this conversation, I think, before, but I don't know. I don't really look at it. I've heard 135 guys. I had 142 guys went out early for the draft. I do know there's some pretty compelling stats out there about guys going out early for the draft. I think in the last 5 years, not counting this year, there's been 380 players or thereabouts go out early for the draft, and 25% of those guys didn't even get drafted. And another 25% weren't on a team in 3 years. So that means 50% of the guys that went out early for the draft had failed careers. But if you look at the number of guys that were first and second round draft picks, there were very few guys that had failed careers. Now we have guys that have no draft grades, 7th round grades, free agent grades, 5th round grades that are going out for the draft. And, the person that loses in that is the player. You got your 3rd round draft pick, and we had one here last year. I'm not mentioning any names. Goes and starts for his team, so he's making 3rd round money, which is not that great. Be the first guy taking his position this year probably, and make $15, $18 million more. So the agent makes out, the club makes out. Now they got a guy that's going to play for that kind of money for 3 more years. All right, and everybody's out there saying, we'll get to your next contract. Well, there's obviously a pretty 50% of these guys are never getting to a next contract. And that doesn't mean all the rest of them got to one either. So it's the culture and it's the trend. And, I've actually changed how I talk to recruits now. I tell every recruit that I talk to, the reason that you're going to college is to prepare yourself for the day you can't play football. I think we have a lot of people way back in high school, all right, that look at college as a conduit to get to the NFL. And look, I am 100% NFL. I'm 100% guys having careers. All right, but people have to be smart about the business decisions they make relative to the NFL, because it is all business. And when people make emotional decisions, they're going to have to suffer some really difficult consequences for themselves in the future, because you don't have to go out for the draft early. You can come back and play. We've had 6 or 7 guys here that had 2nd and 3rd round grades that became top 15 and 1st round draft picks and made a significant amount of money doing that. So there's some really good examples of guys that did it that way. And, so I just, and look, I'm all for every one of our guys that went off for the draft. I'm going to do everything I can do to try to get them drafted as high as they can get drafted. All right, because once they say they're leaving, what benefits our program is that they do great. And I want them all to do great. But I don't think that not just our players, there's a significant amount of players that are not making good business decisions about what they do. And yeah, it affects our team, but our team turns over more quickly. We just have to have more better young guys that can go out there and learn how to play and provide depth to the team. And it's not going to be an excuse for what kind of quality we put on the field. We just got to do a better job of coaching, because we got to do a better job of developing young players, because they're going to have to play more quickly.
Coach, we'll finish up with Tony.
Just wanted to know what you saw from the running backs, more so outside of Brian Robinson and Najee Harris, some of the other guys that you were trying to build the depth with.
They're making progress. I mean, You know, do they have things to work on? Absolutely. Do they have ability to make plays? I think so. Or do we have some guys coming in that are going to get an opportunity to compete with them? I think so. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, we got 9 players coming in on defense and 3 more guys coming in on offense, and, you know, all those guys are going to get every shot over the summer and fall camp to be able to compete with the guys that are here. So nobody's going to be entitled to anything, you know, when it comes to next fall. You know, I know that you guys, all you care about is the depth chart. We don't have a depth chart. Everybody's going to compete, and hopefully we'll be able to get those guys to be able to play winning football at running back past the first 2 guys as well.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.